The FIFA World Cup is supposed to be the one place where every nation competes on equal terms. For years, teams fight through qualification, overcome setbacks, and dream of reaching football's biggest stage. Once they arrive, the expectation is simple. The match should be decided by what happens on the pitch, not by politics, travel restrictions, or administrative barriers. But during the 2026 World Cup, one story has raised serious questions about whether that promise can always be fulfilled. Iran's national team has found itself at the center of one of the tournament's biggest off-field controversies, with officials claiming that their preparation has been significantly affected by circumstances beyond football itself. Instead of focusing solely on tactics, training sessions, and recovery, the team has reportedly had to navigate complicated travel arrangements that no other nation appears to face. Whether those challenges ultimately influence results is open to debate, but the discussion has already captured global attention. Football has always existed alongside politics, diplomacy, and international relations. Major tournaments bring together countries with different cultures, governments, and legal systems, creating situations that sometimes extend far beyond the sport itself. For decades, FIFA has promoted the World Cup as a celebration of unity, where football becomes a universal language capable of connecting billions of people around the world. Yet reality is often more complicated. Hosting a tournament across multiple countries introduces logistical challenges unlike anything seen in previous editions. Different immigration systems, border regulations, security policies, and travel requirements can create unexpected complications for teams and supporters alike. In Iran's case, officials argue that those complications have become a genuine competitive disadvantage. Preparation at the highest level is incredibly detailed. Elite players follow carefully planned schedules that include recovery sessions, tactical meetings, nutrition programs, and physical conditioning. Every hour before kickoff is organized with precision. Coaches spend months designing routines intended to maximize performance on match day. Interruptions to that process can have significant consequences. Travel fatigue, unfamiliar surroundings, reduced training time, and constant logistical uncertainty all affect concentration and physical readiness. Even the smallest details can make the difference between victory and defeat at a World Cup. That is why many coaches insist that preparation begins long before the referee blows the opening whistle. According to statements from Iranian football officials, their team has not enjoyed the same preparation conditions available to most competitors. Instead, the squad has reportedly faced unique travel arrangements that force players and staff to spend valuable energy dealing with logistics rather than football. The federation believes these circumstances contradict the principle of equal opportunity that international tournaments are meant to provide. As a result, officials decided to submit a formal complaint, asking FIFA to examine whether the current situation is compatible with the sporting integrity expected from the world's biggest football competition. The complaint has sparked intense debate across the football community. Some observers argue that FIFA has a responsibility to guarantee identical competitive conditions for every qualified nation. Others believe that immigration policy remains entirely under the authority of sovereign governments and cannot realistically be controlled by a sporting organization. Both perspectives raise valid questions. FIFA governs football, but governments govern borders. When those two realities collide, finding a practical solution becomes extremely difficult. The controversy also highlights one of the risks associated with hosting tournaments across multiple countries. While joint hosting can reduce infrastructure costs and increase global participation, it may also create unequal logistical environments depending on where matches are played. Supporters have also experienced challenges. International tournaments rely heavily on traveling fans who create unforgettable atmospheres inside stadiums. When access becomes difficult or uncertain, the emotional connection between supporters and their national teams can suffer. For many families, attending a World Cup is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Anything that limits that opportunity inevitably becomes part of the tournament's legacy. For the players themselves, however, the focus remains unchanged. Every athlete understands that excuses rarely win matches. Regardless of the obstacles, they are expected to compete with determination and professionalism. History is filled with teams that overcame adversity to produce unforgettable performances. Some of football's greatest stories were born from difficult circumstances. Whether Iran can write another chapter of that history remains to be seen. The psychological challenge may be just as significant as the physical one. Representing an entire nation on the world's biggest stage carries enormous pressure. Adding travel complications and public controversy only increases the emotional burden carried by every player stepping onto the field. Yet adversity can also strengthen team unity. Shared challenges often create stronger bonds inside dressing rooms, motivating players to fight for one another and prove critics wrong. That resilience has defined many successful teams throughout football history. Regardless of how this particular controversy develops, it raises important questions about the future of international competitions. As football continues expanding globally, organizers may need to establish clearer standards that protect competitive fairness while respecting national laws and security policies. Balancing those responsibilities will become increasingly important as more tournaments adopt multinational hosting models. Ultimately, supporters want matches decided by football. They want unforgettable goals, dramatic comebacks, tactical masterclasses, and moments of brilliance, not headlines dominated by logistics and administration. The beauty of the World Cup has always been its ability to unite billions through a shared passion for the game. Every controversy that distracts from the action on the pitch challenges that ideal. As the tournament progresses, the spotlight will remain on Iran's performances, but also on how football's governing bodies respond to concerns about equality and competitive integrity. Because when the final whistle blows and history looks back on this World Cup, people may remember not only the champions and the goals, but also the difficult questions raised about fairness, access, and what it truly means to compete on equal terms. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson of all. The World Cup is more than 90 minutes. It is a global event where sport, culture, politics, and human stories intersect. Sometimes those stories inspire the world. Sometimes they divide opinion. But they always remind us that football is about far more than the scoreline. What happens off the pitch can shape a tournament just as powerfully as what happens on it. And that is exactly why this controversy has become one of the defining conversations of the 2026 World Cup. What does fairness actually mean at a World Cup? Is fairness simply giving every team 90 minutes on the same field with the same referee and the same ball? Or does fairness begin long before kickoff, with equal preparation time, similar travel conditions, and identical opportunities to train and recover? For decades, FIFA has presented the World Cup as the most balanced competition in international sport. Every nation, regardless of size or footballing history, earns its place through qualification. In theory, once qualification is complete, every team starts again from zero. But reality is often more complicated. Some teams travel only a short distance from their training base to the stadium. Others fly across multiple time zones. Some play in familiar climates. Others compete in extreme heat, humidity, or altitude. These differences have always existed. The question now is whether administrative restrictions create an entirely different category of competitive imbalance. Sports scientists have long emphasized the importance of recovery. Modern football is faster than ever before. Players cover greater distances, sprint more frequently, and face increasingly demanding schedules. Every hour of sleep matters. Every recovery session matters. Every tactical meeting matters. Losing valuable preparation time can have consequences that are impossible to measure but impossible to ignore. That is why elite clubs invest millions of dollars into sports performance departments. Nutritionists, physiotherapists, psychologists, analysts, and recovery specialists all work together to maximize performance. If preparation changes, performance often changes as well. This controversy has therefore opened a discussion extending beyond one national team. Experts are asking whether future World Cups should include stronger guarantees protecting every qualified nation from logistical disadvantages that could influence competition. The issue becomes even more significant when considering the future of international tournaments. Football is becoming increasingly global. Joint hosting models are becoming more common because they reduce infrastructure costs and allow multiple countries to benefit economically. However, they also create new logistical realities that previous generations never experienced. Moving between different legal systems, immigration policies, and security procedures introduces variables that traditional tournaments never had to manage. As a result, governing bodies may eventually need entirely new regulations designed specifically for multinational competitions. Some analysts believe FIFA should negotiate special travel agreements years before tournaments begin. Others argue that participating countries should receive guaranteed exemptions allowing teams and accredited personnel to move freely throughout the competition. Supporters have also become part of the discussion. The World Cup is not only about the players. Millions of fans save money for years hoping to watch their nation compete. Entire families plan vacations around tournament schedules. Communities organize celebrations that bring generations together. When travel complications prevent supporters from attending matches, the atmosphere inside stadiums changes dramatically. Football has always depended on emotion. The chants, the colors, the flags, the celebrations. These elements transform ordinary matches into unforgettable occasions. Without supporters, something essential is missing. This controversy therefore affects more than tactical preparation. It influences the overall experience of the tournament itself. Another important aspect rarely discussed is the psychological impact on players. Elite athletes perform best when routines remain stable. They prefer predictable schedules and familiar preparation methods. Unexpected changes create stress, even for experienced professionals. For national federations, protecting their players means raising concerns whenever they believe competitive integrity is threatened. For supporters, the expectation is simple. They want to see the best players performing at their highest level under conditions that allow talent, not circumstance, to decide the outcome. Perhaps that ideal can never be achieved perfectly. No tournament will ever eliminate every difference between nations. Travel distances will vary. Climates will differ. Crowds will favor home teams. Unexpected events will always occur. But the closer football comes to equal opportunity, the stronger the legitimacy of every result becomes. As the knockout stages approach, attention will naturally return to goals, tactics, and dramatic finishes. Yet this controversy is unlikely to disappear. Long after the trophy has been lifted, football administrators may look back on this tournament as a turning point, one that forced the sport to rethink how global competitions should be organized in an increasingly interconnected world. Because every World Cup leaves behind more than a champion. It leaves behind lessons. Some are tactical, some are historical, and some reshape the future of the game itself. If this debate leads to reforms that guarantee greater competitive equality for future generations, then its impact may extend far beyond a single tournament and become one of the most influential off-field stories in modern World Cup history.